Number 1. Seeking validation. One of the most damaging things a man can do in any interaction with a woman is to constantly seek her validation. This shows up in subtle ways, like always asking if she likes you, fishing for compliments, or constantly needing reassurance about where you stand with her. You might think this shows that you care or that you're being emotionally open, but in reality, it sends a very different message. It signals insecurity, and insecurity, no matter how well hidden, is something women pick up on instinctively. Let's break it down. When a man seeks a woman's approval over and over again, what he's really saying is, "I don't believe I'm enough unless you tell me I am." That's a heavy burden to place on anyone, and it disrupts the natural dynamic between masculine and feminine energy. Instead of appearing confident and grounded, he comes across as unsure of himself, waiting for her to tell him how to feel about himself. This is the opposite of what high-value men do. Confidence doesn't come from being told you're enough. It comes from knowing you're enough, whether someone acknowledges it or not. Think about a man who walks into a room. He doesn't scan the room wondering if people will accept him. He walks in like he belongs there, because he believes in his own worth. That's the kind of energy that silently commands respect. Now let's compare that with someone who walks in and needs everyone to validate him to feel secure. That kind of energy repels attraction. Here's the harsh truth. When you constantly seek validation, you're handing over the power to define your worth. And the more power you give away, the less respect you'll get in return. Women are drawn to men who are emotionally self-sufficient. That doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being so rooted in your identity that whether she compliments you or not, whether she shows affection or pulls back, you stay grounded. You don't overreact. You don't panic. You don't beg for attention. Instead, you lead with calm confidence and let her come to you. Because when you validate yourself, others naturally start to validate you too. Number 2, over-explaining yourself. Another mistake that quietly erodes your value in a woman's eyes is over-explaining yourself. Now let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with clear communication. But when you find yourself justifying your every action, word, or decision with long-winded explanations, what you're really doing is signaling insecurity. Let's say she asks, "Why didn't you text me back last night?" A confident man says, "I was busy, but I'm here now." That's it. No excuses, no overthinking, just presence and clarity. Now compare that to the guy who says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was going to text you, but then my phone died, and I had to help my friend with something, and then I fell asleep. I hope you're not mad." That response sounds like he's walking on eggshells, like he's afraid of losing her if he doesn't explain himself perfectly. That doesn't build attraction, it kills it. Because here's the truth. When you over-explain, you look guilty, even when you've done nothing wrong. You're essentially seeking permission to be yourself. And once again, you're placing your sense of security in her reaction. But a high-value man owns his choices. He doesn't feel the need to defend every move he makes. Why? Because he knows his intent is solid. He knows his time is valuable. And he knows that if someone misunderstands him, it's okay. They can either ask for clarity or move on. Over-explaining usually comes from a fear of being misunderstood. But that fear can make you appear weak, indecisive, or even dishonest, especially if you ramble or try to say too much too fast. Here's what you should do instead. Speak with intention. Keep your explanations short, clear, and calm. Let your tone reflect confidence, not desperation. If she presses for more, you can calmly say, "I don't feel the need to justify everything I do. I know where I stand." This sets a boundary and establishes self-respect. Remember, silence can be more powerful than words. Not everything requires an explanation, and often less is more. Because when a man speaks with certainty, without needing approval, he commands attention and respect. Number 3, being too available. Let's talk about one of the biggest silent killers of attraction, being too available. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, especially if you were taught that the more you're there for someone, the more they'll appreciate you. But when it comes to attraction, it doesn't always work that way. In fact, constant availability often leads to being taken for granted. You see, people don't value what they can access all the time. It's human nature. We crave what's scarce, not what's overly abundant. And when a man is always texting back instantly, always free to hang out, always waiting around for her to decide, he starts to feel predictable. And predictability doesn't create emotional tension. It doesn't spark curiosity. It doesn't keep her wondering about you. Women are drawn to men with a mission, men who have a life, goals, structure, and purpose outside of the relationship. If you're always available, it signals that you're not fully engaged with your own life, and that's not attractive. Let's paint a picture. Imagine a guy who cancels plans with his friends just because she asked to hang out last minute, or someone who texts good morning, good afternoon, and good night every single day without her even initiating. At first, she might appreciate it, but over time, it starts to feel overwhelming, and worse, it feels too easy. The hard truth is this: attraction needs space to breathe. It needs a bit of mystery, a bit of distance, a bit of what's he up to. This doesn't mean you play games or act distant on purpose. It means you build a life so full and fulfilling that you can't always drop everything for someone else, even if you really like them. You protect your time, you stay committed to your routine, you maintain your boundaries. And ironically, when you do that, when you're not always available, it actually makes your presence more valuable. Because now when you show up, it means something. It's intentional, it's rare, it has weight. So remember this: don't make her your whole world. Let her orbit around a life you're already proud of. Being available all the time doesn't make her love you more. It often makes her respect you less. Number 4, arguing emotionally. One of the fastest ways to lose respect and attraction is by getting caught up in emotional arguments. Here's the thing: relationships will always have disagreements. That's normal. But how you handle those disagreements, that defines your emotional strength as a man. Most guys make the mistake of trying to win arguments with women by using logic. They think if they just explain their side well enough, she'll see the truth and agree. But relationships aren't a courtroom. They're an emotional space. And when emotions are high, logic usually gets thrown out the window. Trying to win an emotional argument is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The more you feed it, the bigger it gets. Let's break it down. If she's upset, maybe she's crying, raising her voice, or blaming you for something, and you respond with frustration, defensiveness, or sarcasm, it only escalates the situation. You've now entered her emotional frame. You've lost your center. And once you do that, you've given your power away. But a grounded, stoic man, he doesn't argue to be right. He listens, observes, and responds. He doesn't react. That doesn't mean you become passive or let her walk all over you. Not at all. It means you stay composed, even when she's not. You hold your frame. You know who you are, and you don't let the storm outside shake your inner peace. If she says something emotional like, "You never care about how I feel," you don't need to jump in and say, "That's not true. Remember last week when I did this and that?" Instead, pause, breathe, and say something calm and clear like, "I'm hearing that you're upset. Let's talk when we're both calm." Or, "I care, but I'm not going to argue. Let's take a moment." This approach sets a boundary. It shows strength, it shows leadership, and most importantly, it shows emotional discipline, which is incredibly rare and attractive in a man. Arguing emotionally is a trap. It drains your energy, ruins your peace, and makes you look unstable. But when you remain calm, grounded, and in control, even in chaos, you communicate one powerful message: I'm not here to fight, I'm here to lead. And that is the energy that builds real respect and a lasting connection. Number 5, failing her tests. Let's talk about something subtle but powerful. Women will test you, and if you fail these tests, you slowly lose her respect, even if she still likes you. Now, before you get defensive, let's clear one thing up. These tests aren't always conscious. Most of the time, she's not sitting there plotting, thinking, "Let me test this guy's confidence today." It's subconscious. It's instinctual. It's her way of figuring out, can I trust this man's strength? Is he grounded in who he is? These tests can come in many forms. She might tease you, ignore your message for a bit, challenge your opinion, Say something slightly disrespectful. Flirt with another guy just to see how you react. And here's where most men mess up. They react emotionally. They try to defend themselves, explain too much, or get visibly upset. They step into the emotional frame she created, and they lose their power. Let me give you an example. Let's say you crack a joke and she says, "You're not that funny." A guy who's unsure of himself might say, "Wait, really? Why not? I thought it was funny." But a man who knows his worth smiles and replies, "You haven't even seen my best material yet." Boom, confident, light, unbothered. Here's the truth. When she tests you, she's not trying to destroy you. She's checking to see if you can handle her. Not just her words, but her moods, her emotions, her life. She wants to know if you crumble under pressure or stand tall regardless. Failing these tests looks like getting defensive when she questions you, apologizing just to avoid conflict, needing her constant approval to feel okay, overreacting to her silence or pulling away, passing them. That looks like staying calm, holding your frame, responding with strength and a touch of humor, never chasing validation. It all comes back to emotional stability. Women deeply respect a man who doesn't flinch when tested, who remains cool, composed, and confident. So the next time she throws a test your way, don't panic. Smile inwardly and think, here it is. Then pass it with grace. That's what separates the boys from the men. Number 6, apologizing too much. There's a difference between being considerate and being overly apologetic. One earns respect, the other silently erodes it. Let's make this clear. Apologizing when you're genuinely wrong is a mark of maturity and integrity. If you hurt someone, own it. If you mess up, fix it. That's real strength. But here's where many men fall into a trap. They apologize too often for things that don't even require an apology. They say sorry when texting, sorry for taking up space, sorry for having an opinion, sorry for speaking up, sorry just for existing a little too confidently. This kind of behavior doesn't come from politeness. It comes from insecurity. Now think about the message you send when you're constantly saying, "Sorry for bothering you. Sorry, I didn't mean to annoy you. Sorry, I didn't text sooner. Sorry, I just thought maybe." Every unnecessary apology chips away at your perceived confidence. It makes it look like you're walking on eggshells around her, like you're afraid of how she'll respond. And guess what? If you keep acting like you're doing something wrong just by being yourself, she'll start to believe it too. A high-value man doesn't over-apologize. He takes responsibility when it matters and stands firm the rest of the time. He knows his intentions are clean. He respects himself, and because of that, he speaks and acts with clarity, not guilt. Here's a simple rule. If you didn't do anything wrong, don't apologize. If you're texting her to say hi or check in, just do it with confidence. Instead of saying, "Sorry, I hope I'm not bothering you," say, or "Hey, hope your day's going well." It's that subtle shift in tone that makes all the difference. Remember, every word you speak carries energy. Unnecessary apologies come off as self-doubt, but grounded, respectful communication, that radiates quiet power. The truth is, confidence isn't loud. It's steady. And part of that steadiness is knowing when to say sorry and when to simply own your space without guilt. Number 7, putting her on a pedestal. There's a big difference between respecting a woman and worshiping her. When you place a woman on a pedestal, treating her like she's flawless, superior, or somehow more valuable than you, you're not showing admiration, you're showing imbalance. And here's the kicker. Most women don't want to be put on a pedestal. They want a man who sees them clearly, flaws and all, yet still chooses them. Not because he needs her to feel whole, but because he respects the connection. So what does it look like when a man puts a woman too high above himself? He constantly compliments her in an exaggerated way. "You're the most perfect woman I've ever met." He suppresses his own opinions just to keep her happy. He agrees with everything she says, even if he secretly disagrees. He makes her the center of his world and forgets to center himself. And here's the result. Instead of earning her respect, he starts to feel less like a man in her eyes. Why? Because a woman doesn't want to be your goddess. She wants to feel you're her equal partner, someone she can look across at, not down on. She wants a man who challenges her when it's needed, holds his own, sees her beauty, but doesn't become blind to reality. Respect is mutual. If you treat her like she's above you, you're unconsciously telling her you're beneath her. And once that dynamic is set, it's hard to come back from. Instead of saying, "You're the most amazing woman in the universe, I don't deserve you," say, "I really like your energy. It's rare." Short, honest, grounded. That's how a man of value speaks. The truth is, a woman doesn't want to be the sun that your whole world orbits around. She wants to feel the magnetism between two people who have full lives, full confidence, and a strong sense of self, and still choose one another. So don't elevate her onto a throne she didn't ask for. See her, respect her, but never forget your own worth in the process. Number 8, making her your entire life. Let's get real. The moment you make a woman your entire world is the moment you start losing yourself, and eventually losing her too. At first, it might seem sweet or romantic. You give her all your time. You drop everything when she calls. You rearrange your priorities to make her happy, and maybe at first she appreciates the attention. But over time, something shifts. The attraction fades, not because she's ungrateful, but because deep down, women aren't drawn to men who orbit around them. They're drawn to men who are centered in themselves, men who have a life, a mission, a purpose, and who invite her to be part of it, not become the whole thing. Think about it. When you lose sight of your goals, your growth, your health, your hobbies, your friends, just to make her your everything, you stop being the man she was attracted to in the first place. You become predictable, clingy, emotionally dependent, and nothing kills attraction faster than neediness. Let me put it this way. You were not put on this earth just to chase love. You were built to create, to lead, to grow, to build a life you're proud of. Love is a part of that life, but it's not the foundation. Your purpose is. A high-value man doesn't abandon his path for anyone. He brings a woman into his world, but doesn't make her his world. She complements him, but she doesn't complete him. Here's what this looks like in practice. You don't cancel your goals to accommodate her moods. You don't abandon your plans just to seem more available. You make time for her, but you don't let her consume all your time. You stay grounded in your mission because that's what keeps you attractive, stable, and fulfilled. Women respect men who know who they are with or without a relationship. They're drawn to the quiet confidence of a man who says, "I care about you deeply, but I'll never stop becoming who I'm meant to be." So remember, relationships should enhance your life, not replace it. When you live fully, love flows naturally. But when you live only for love, you lose both.